Sonic's Green Hills Adventure Season 6 Chapter 19 Recovery. While the soft, rhythmic breathing of the sleeping Sonic filled the upstairs bedroom, the rest of the group gathered in the living room below. The air was thick with a different kind of silence now, not the cold, sharp terror of the pawn shop, but the heavy, exhausted aftermath of a battle for a soul. Tom and Maddie sat on the sofa, their faces pale, while Emma, Regina, Henry, Killian, Snow, and David stood in a semicircle around Silver and Annika. Everyone was looking for answers, their eyes fixed on the two younger siblings who had witnessed the breakdown and the rescue firsthand. Emma's voice was low and urgent.
Silver, Annika, tell us exactly what happened in there. Regina said Gold was asking for memories. Did he take anything?
Silver shook his head, his teal aura finally flickering back to a steady dim glow.
No, he didn't take anything, but he almost did. He asked for a memory of personal value to anchor the magic. And the second he said it, Sonic just snapped.
Annika wiped a stray tear from her cheek, her voice trembling.
He went back, Emma. He wasn't in the shop anymore. He was 3 years old again, in that cave during the first winter. He was screaming for Mom and Dad, for Tom and Maddie, and crying that he didn't want to be alone in the dark.
Snow White covered her mouth, her eyes welling up.
Oh, the poor soul. To be trapped in a loop of that much loneliness.
Killian was leaning against the mantel, his expression grim.
And the crocodile. I find it hard to believe he grew a conscience out of the blue.
He did. Well, something happened. When Sonic started wailing for his parents, Gold just froze. He dropped what he was holding. He looked like he'd been hit by a ghost. He mentioned a name, Balefire. After that, he refused to take the memories. He said he wouldn't be the cause of a child's hand slipping through his again.
So Shadow stepped in?
It was incredible. Shadow didn't even use a spell. He just went inside. He used this power we didn't know he had to enter Sonic's head. We could see them both glowing. Shadow stayed in that freezing cave with him, holding him and humming a lullaby until the storm stopped. He brought the little Sonic back to the big Sonic.
Regina crossed her arms, a look of rare respect in her eyes.
That isn't just power. That's a psychic tether born of absolute devotion. Shadow didn't just save his brother. He protected the boy's very essence from collapsing.
And the deal? What was the final price?
A favor. Just an open-ended favor for the future. In exchange, he gave us these.
Silver pulled out one of the silver-blue scales Gold had provided.
They're Leviathan scales. As long as we have these, the water won't trigger the change unless we want it to. Robotnik is officially empty-handed.
Maddie let out a shaky breath of relief.
Thank goodness. And thank Shadow.
Upstairs, the door was cracked open. Shadow sat in a chair pulled close to the bed, his hand still resting on Sonic's arm, his eyes never leaving his brother's face. Marina was on the other side, her fingers interlaced with Sonic's, her head resting on the edge of the mattress. Marina whispered,
He looks so peaceful now, like the cave is finally gone.
Shadow's voice was a gravelly, exhausted whisper.
It's not gone. It'll always be there, Marina. But now he knows he's not the only one with a key to the door. If he falls in again, I'm going in after him. Every single time.
We all are. We are the Blue Angels, Shadow. And now, we're a family that even the Dark One couldn't break.
Shadow looked toward the window, his gaze hardening.
Let Robotnik come. Let him bring every drop of water in the ocean. He's about to find out what happens when you threaten the hedgehog's home.
The house is finally safe and the secret to staying dry is in their hands. The soft amber glow of the bedside lamp cast long, gentle shadows across the room, a stark contrast to the harsh, biting gray of the psychic blizzard. Sonic's ears twitched first, catching the faint, rhythmic sound of the rain against the window, a sound that, for the first time in hours, didn't make his heart race. His eyes fluttered open, unfocused and heavy. For a terrifying split second, he expected to see the jagged rock ceiling of the cave. He expected to feel the bite of the Montana frost. Instead, he felt the weight of a thick, knitted duvet. He felt the warmth of a hand resting firmly on his arm and another holding his own. Sonic's voice was a tiny raspy whisper.
Shadow?
Shadow, who hadn't moved an inch from his post, leaned forward immediately. The exhaustion was etched into his face, but his eyes were clear and filled with an intense, grounding relief.
I'm right here, Blue. You're home. You're in Storybrooke.
Marina sat up, her face lighting up with a tearful smile as she squeezed his hand.
Hey, sleepyhead, you really gave us a scare.
Sonic looked between the two of them, the memories of the pawn shop and the dark Xylo realization slowly settling back into place, but the sharp, jagged edge of the trauma had been blunted. He remembered the humming. He remembered the feeling of being held while the world was freezing over. Sonic's voice cracked.
I was back there. It was so cold. But then there was this light. It felt like a furnace.
He looked at Shadow, his green eyes shimmering.
I told you, I'm the wall, Sonic. The wind doesn't get past me.
Without another word, Sonic lunged forward, throwing his arms around Shadow's neck. He buried his face into the white tuft of fur on Shadow's chest, sobbing again, but these weren't the wails of a lost child. They were the tears of someone who finally realized they were found. Shadow didn't hesitate. He pulled Sonic close, his powerful arms wrapping around his brother with a fierce, protective grip. Marina leaned in, wrapping her arms around both of them, creating a solid circle of warmth and safety. Sonic's voice was muffled against Shadow's shoulder.
Don't let go. Please, just for a minute. Don't let go.
Not a chance, little brother. I've got you. We've all got you.
They stayed like that for a long time, the three of them anchored to one another. The fear of Robotnik, the threat of the water, and the ghosts of the past were all locked outside that room. In the quiet of the bed and breakfast, the only thing that mattered was the steady, synchronized heartbeat of a family that had walked through fire and ice just to stay together. The Blue Angels are finally reunited and at peace. The tension in the living room downstairs was so thick it felt like a physical weight. Tom hadn't stopped pacing the length of the rug, while Maddie sat on the edge of her seat, her eyes fixed on the ceiling as if she could hear the silent battle happening floors above. Emma and Killian stood by the window watching the rain, while Regina leaned against the bookshelf, her usual mask of indifference replaced by a look of deep, somber reflection. Snow and David sat close to Silver and Annika, keeping the younger ones grounded. The silence was suddenly broken by the soft creak of a floorboard upstairs. Everyone froze. Then the distinct, low murmur of voices drifted down the staircase, followed by a sound that made Maddie's breath catch in her throat. It was the sound of a sniffle, then a muffled, shaky laugh, and the quiet, rhythmic humming of Shadow's voice. Annika perked up, a wide smile breaking across her face.
He's awake. I can hear him.
Silver closed his eyes as a wave of relief washed over him, his teal aura brightening significantly.
He's back. The cave, it's gone. I can feel the shift in the air. The static is finally quiet.
Maddie stood up, her hands trembling as she looked toward the stairs.
Does he sound okay?
Tom placed a steadying hand on her shoulder, his own eyes misty.
Listen to that, Maddie. That's not the scared crying. That's the sound of our kid being home.
From the landing above, Marina stepped out briefly, looking down over the railing. Her eyes were red-rimmed but sparkling with joy. She gave a small thumb-up gesture and a tearful nod. Marina whispered loudly,
He's okay. He's with Shadow. They're just being brothers right now. He's going to be fine.
The room erupted in a collective, exhaled breath. Henry let out a cheer he'd been holding back, while Killian clapped David on the shoulder. Regina even allowed a tiny, knowing smirk to grace her lips. Snow White was squeezing David's hand.
Love is the most powerful magic of all, even in a world of hedgehogs and machines. It always finds a way to lead us out of the dark.
Tom sank back into his chair, finally letting his shoulders drop.
Gosh, I need a coffee. Or a nap. Or both.
Maddie smiled through her tears.
I'll make a pot, and some extra large pancakes for when he's ready to come down. I have a feeling he's going to be hungry.
The fear that had dominated the night didn't vanish. Robotnik was still out there, and the Leviathan scales were still sitting on the table, but the hopelessness was gone. The Blue Angels weren't just a group of siblings anymore. They were a fortress. The family is finally breathing easy, fueled by the knowledge that Sonic is safe. In the quiet of the guest room, Shadow reached over and tapped the activation rune on the interdimensional link. The holographic projector hummed to life, and instantly, the room was filled with the flickering, anxious faces of the council. Setum Sonic was the first to lean into the camera, his eyes red-rimmed.
Is he?
He's asleep again, but the real kind this time.
Shadow whispered, his voice raspy from the humming.
The loop is broken. He's back.
A collective, audible sigh of relief rippled through the dimensions. Modern Sonic slumped back in his chair, and Hephus Sonic closed his eyes, pressing his palms together in a silent gesture of thanks.
But Shadow,
Modern Sonic said, leaning closer, his expression a mix of awe and total confusion.
how did you do that? I've seen a lot of chaos tricks, teleporting, freezing time, even the healing thing you did back at the facility, but I've never seen a hedgehog dive into someone's literal mind. You weren't just talking to him. You were there.
Shadow looked down at his hands. They were still trembling slightly.
I don't know.
He admitted, his brow furrowing.
It was like the GUN facility, but amplified. When I saw him spiraling, I felt this pull in my chest. It wasn't just chaos control over space. It was like my soul recognized his frequency. I didn't think about it. I just wanted to be where he was so he wouldn't be alone.
Hephus Sonic opened his eyes, his gaze sharp and ancient.
It's a new power, Shadow. A manifestation of your chaos heart. Most use the emeralds to affect the physical world speed, strength, fire. But you've begun to tap into the empathic link. You used your energy not as a weapon, but as a bridge.
A bridge?
Marina asked softly, looking at Shadow with newfound wonder.
An empathic warp.
Hephus Sonic explained.
Because you share the same genetic and chaos origins as your siblings, your power evolved to protect them. You didn't just teleport your body. You projected your consciousness into his trauma to act as a psychic anchor. It's rare. It's beautiful.
Modern Sonic whistled low.
Man, and here I thought Chaos Spear was cool. You literally became a human heir, hedgehog security blanket for his soul.
Shadow didn't look proud. He looked humbled.
I didn't do it to be cool. I did it because he's my brother. And if Robotnik thinks he can use our minds against us, he's in for a surprise. I can get into places his machines can't follow.
Satam Sonic nodded firmly, a spark of his old rebel leader fire returning to his eyes.
Good. Because if you can shield his mind and those Leviathan scales can shield your bodies, the Blue Angels just became the most dangerous band on the planet. Get some sleep, Shadow. You earned it.
The link fades out, leaving Shadow and Marina in the quiet glow of the room.